So your brakes aren't working like they used to, and you're wondering why? Well, it could mean your brake pads are worn out. And in this video, we're going to go over some of the things that would indicate our pads are worn out, what tools we need, and exactly how to do it. Welcome to Good Time Bikes, sponsored by Richards Bicycles. Now let's get to it. Okay, there are many different kind of brake designs out there, and the one we're working with today is called a V-brake. It's very common. Always be sure to get the right brake pad for the right brake. Now let's go over what tools we'll need. A 5mm Allen wrench, a pair of pliers, and our pads for a V-brake, and those are all the tools we'll need to make this a quick job. I like to start by dislocating the brake, but before we do that, I want you to take notice as to how the elbow sits inside the flange. This will be important later when we put it back together. Now with your brake dislocated, we can begin to remove the pad, but we're going to do one side at a time. In case you make a mistake, you'll have the other side to reference. And don't worry about all the hardware. In case you lose it, drop it, not a big deal, because your new brake pads are going to come with new hardware. First, let's take notice as to how worn out this pad really is. Looking at the bottom of it, we can see it used to be much thicker and even had a design on it. With the pad so thin and flattened out, the brake will never work properly, and you'll be missing out on plenty of braking power. Now, before we mount anything on the bike, let's look at our hardware. We have a thicker concave washer, two convex washers, and a thinner concave washer, along with our regular washer and our nut. Let's take notice as to how they're lined up on our old brake pad, the thinner one on the inside and the thicker one on the outside. Right out of the package, our new one is the opposite, the thicker one on the inside and the thinner one on the outside. So let's go ahead and switch that around so it's in the proper order. And that's exactly how it's going to go on the bike. The brake will fit right in between our two washers there. Finally, I'd like you to take notice as to whether or not your brake pad has a direction to it. In this case, mine does. This is the right side brake pad because our arrow is pointing forward to the front of the bike. Now, with our hardware in the proper order, we can remount our brake pad. Use your 5mm Allen just to snug it up. And simply repeat what we've done so far on the other side. And again, just snug it up, and we'll move on to putting our brake back together. Now that it's time for us to put our brake back together, you may notice you don't have enough cable length to fit your elbow into the flange. There's a simple fix to this. Take your 5mm Allen, loosen up the bolt that holds the cable down, and slide out a little bit more slack. From there, you should be able to join these back together. Okay, now that we have our new brake pads on and slack in our cable, it's time to realign our brake pads. I like to do this by holding down the brake lever and realigning the brake pad as you see fit. And at that point, just snug it a bit and repeat for the other side. Now that we have our brake pads aligned properly, it's time to use our pliers to hold the brake pad in position while we tighten it down securely. Now go ahead and repeat that for the other side. Okay, now finally, let's double check our cable length. We're going to do that by pulling the brake and seeing how it feels. This is a little too loose for me, so I'm going to tighten it up. That's perfect. Tuck our cable inside, and we're done. Okay guys, I hope this video made your job a whole lot easier. If you like videos about bicycle maintenance, repair, and even restoration, like, subscribe, and stand by. Thank you for joining me here at Good Time Bikes, sponsored by Richards Bicycles, and I'll see you on the next one.